Okay, this is becoming a pattern at this point. Every single time I find a truck that I want, it's borderline impossible to get, and after 5 seconds of research, I find out that the United States government is directly responsible. Today we're talking about the Cars Act, aka Cash for Clunkers. Okay, I'm already upset, so here's how we got here. I originally wanted a Toyota Champ. It's like this $15,000 super cheap Toyota truck that you can buy and just go do truck stuff with, okay? It's very cheap, it does what it's supposed to do, it's what I wanted. So I hopped on Google and was like, hey, when are these gonna get released in America? Because I'm gonna buy one. Oh, turns out they're not getting released in America. Why not? The same reason I can't get the Toyota Hilux, the other truck that I've wanted literally forever. And it's because in the 1960s, Germany was buying too much American poultry, so they put a tariff on American chickens, to which the American president, Lyndon B. Johnson, got upset. So he retaliated by putting a tariff on small cargo vehicles, aka small trucks. This is referred to as the chicken tax. I did a whole video on it. Okay, but the abbreviated version is I don't get to buy the truck I want because of Lyndon B. Johnson and chickens 80 years ago. So I'm like, okay, you know what? It's fine. There's other trucks in the world. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm just gonna pick another cool truck. To me, I'll just get an older American truck that's already here. It'll be cheap. It'll be great. And right away, I knew exactly what truck I wanted. I wanted the truck that was new when I was a kid, when I was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, because that truck was new when I was a kid. So it's going to be new to me for the rest of my life. It's just going to feel that way regardless of how old it gets. And that truck to me is a 4th gen GMC, specifically the Chevy version, the K1500.
Delete me.
Nice trench gun.
Whatever.
Thank you.
Oh, did you want this watch?
Yeah, I did actually.
Okay. I don't know what it is, but whatever.
Thanks, love you.
Whatever.
This video is brought to you by Deleteme. Super straightforward business. You give them money, they turn around and they make sure the data brokers on the internet are not selling your personal information. Simply put, pretty much anytime you go on the internet and you fill out your personal information and you check that little box that says, I agree to the terms of service, those terms more than likely mean that they're collecting your personal data. They turn around and they sell that data to data brokers, and then the data brokers sell it to whoever. The good news is these data brokers are legally required to get rid of your information and stop selling it if you ask them to. The hard part is figuring out which data brokers have your info and then filling out all the paperwork to get them to stop selling it. And that's where Deleteme comes in. Once you're using their service, they go through, they check all the data brokers for your personal information, and if they have it, they go ahead and they fill out all the paperwork to have that information taken down automatically. After that, they continue to keep checking and rechecking all these data brokers in case they somehow acquire your information again and start selling it again, and make sure that doesn't happen. So if privacy sounds pretty cool to you, go ahead and check out Deleteme. I'll have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video. Sorry, anyways, I started looking for a K1500, borderline impossible to find one in good condition. Okay, I finally track one down. It's at a car dealership. It's mint. It's got like 25,000 miles. It's perfect. It's spotless. I want it. Problem, it's like almost $30,000 for a 1998 K1500. So I call the dealership and I'm like, the fuck? Is it like a drag car? Does it have a different engine in it? What the fuck is going on with this truck? Like, no, it's completely stock K1500, 25,000 miles, perfect condition. We want a ton of money for it. And I'm like, why? And the owner of the dealership is like, well, the government crushed all of them, so you're never going to find this truck in good condition. So naturally, I did what I always do. I went home, started looking into it, went down the rabbit hole. Here's what happened. It all started in 2008 when the American housing market crashed. How did the housing market crash? Well, in the years leading up to this, the American government decided, hey, owning a home is part of the American dream. More people should own homes. You know what we should do? We should go put a bunch of pressure on US banks to give loans to people that they know can't afford homes and just do it anyways. This is called a subprime mortgage, and the banks were giving out a ton of them for the years leading up to 2008. 2008 rolls around, all the people that bought houses they couldn't afford get foreclosed on, ruins the entire housing market, the entire US economy crashes. And when the economy crashes, people don't have a lot of extra money, and when people don't have a lot of extra money, guess what they're not doing? Buying brand new cars. But it's okay, we live in a capitalist society, and what happens when supply remains the same and demand goes down? The prices also go down. The market will regulate and fix itself, right? No, because the government's gonna step in and they're gonna help.
I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
So the United States government, in its infinite wisdom, comes out with the Cars Act, aka Cash for Clunkers, and they're gonna try to prop up the automotive industry as a way to stimulate the economy. And then, as a little side quest, they're also gonna try to save the environment at the same time. So the government allocates $3 billion towards this program, and that $3 billion is going to be spent overpaying for people's used cars. So how this works is anybody that's going to buy a new car, like a Prius or a Camry or a Civic, can trade in their old car, and the government is going to be willing to subsidize paying you between $3,500 and $4,500, even if that's way more than your car is actually worth. The only stipulations are the car has to be running, it has to be a good, reliable vehicle, it has to get 18 miles to the gallon or less, and it has to be registered to you for at least a year. So basically, the government is only interested in buying perfectly good used cars in running condition. And $3 billion divided by somewhere between 3,500 and 4,500 per car ends up being about 700,000 cars that the United States government gets their hands on, which raises the question, what is the United States government gonna do with 700,000 perfectly good running cars?
Blow it the f up!
Okay, I mean, I'm not very bright, I'm just spitballing, but here's what I would do. I would maybe auction off the 700,000 cars so that 700,000 Americans could get a good deal on a running, reliable vehicle so they can make it to work and participate in the economy to help prop up the economy that the US government just crashed. But we got to remember the big picture here, right? Because the US government also is trying to save the environment, and these 700,000 cars get less than 18 miles per gallon, so there's only one thing we can do. We got to fucking destroy them. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. The second your car gets traded into a dealership, that dealership is legally required to drain all the oil out of the engine, pour a specialty chemical inside of it, put it in park, and have a mechanic hold the gas pedal down until that specialty chemical turns into glass in the engine and blows up the entire thing, and then they're gonna crush it and turn it into garbage. You know, as one last fuck you to the environment right before we save it.
Shut the f up, alright?
Okay, I'm just gonna level with you. I'm like in awe at this point at how horrible this idea was. There's so many layers of stupidity compounded within itself. I don't even know how to continue the video. The government is like King Midas, but instead of everything they touch turning to gold, it just turns to shit. So I guess we'll just make sure that we're all on the same page at this point, okay? In 2008, the United States government is responsible for crashing the US economy, and in 2009, in order to fix it, they said, hey, you know what we should do? Let's take $3 billion that we've extracted from the people whose lives are already suffering. We're gonna take that $3 billion and we're gonna use it to have a fucking used car genocide where we destroy 700,000 perfectly operational vehicles. And you're never gonna guess which vehicle cracked the top 10 for the most crushed by the US government. That's right, the Chevy K1500. You know what? Actually, it's fine. I'm sure this was well worth it, and I'm sure that we saved the environment. Let's just go ahead and check the stats. According to the University of Michigan, the average miles per gallon of the average American vehicle went up a total of 0.7 miles per gallon. Okay, that's not a lot. How much did it actually save the environment, right? I mean, that's what actually matters. How much CO2 did we prevent from going into the atmosphere, right? Okay. The CARS program prevented 4.4 million metric tons of CO2 from entering the atmosphere. That's a big fucking number. That's probably a good thing, right? That accounts for approximately 0.4% of US emissions. You know what? Okay, look, I'm not a super intelligent guy. I'm wearing a camouflage hat and a tank top, and I live in a cornfield, okay? But hear me out. I feel like every vehicle manufactured has what I'm gonna describe as a fossil fuel overhead, okay? Because the manufacturing plant where the car is made, it's gotta have power. You get that by burning coal and other fossil fuels, right? So some of it goes there. Then all the workers have to drive their cars to the manufacturing plant to be able to build it, and their cars burn fossil fuels. And then if the manufacturing plant is, I don't know, in Japan, where they manufacture the Prius, the Civic, and the Camry, which were the most sold cars under the Cash for Clunkers program, you gotta ship the car across the fucking ocean using fossil fuels to get it here, okay? Maybe destroying all those cars prematurely before you squeezed all the life out of them wasn't worth the 0.4% you saved on emissions overall. Oh yeah, well at least the United States government propped up the auto industry, because without those sales, they probably would have had to lay off a bunch of American auto workers. But did you not just listen to what I just said? The top 3 cars sold during the Cash for Clunkers program were the Honda Civic, the Toyota Prius, and the Toyota Camry, okay? Most of those are made over in Japan. There's a couple that are made here in America, depending on the trim model. Overall, across the entire program, only 44% of the cars purchased under Cash for Clunkers were actually made in America. So essentially what you've done is take $3 billion from the American taxpayers and give it to foreign auto manufacturers. Secondly, in the months following the Cash for Clunkers program, there were way less car sales than there should have been according to the previous year's data, meaning Cash for Clunkers didn't increase the number of car sales, it just moved them from one month to another. So since there weren't actually any more cars sold during Cash for Clunkers, that means that the US is now down 700,000 cars, right? And what happens when supply lowers and demand remains the same? That's right, prices go up. The price of a used car on average went up about $2,000 after Cash for Clunkers.
This is the worst.
So essentially, the United States government has taken $3 billion, given it to foreign auto manufacturers so that they can subsidize rich people buying new Priuses while poor people have to pay $2,000 more for their used car. Fucking great job. Way to go. But wait, it gets even worse because a lot of the people that bought new cars during Cash for Clunkers shouldn't have really bought new cars. They were just overly incentivized to do it because the government was subsidizing it, right? Where the fuck are my notes? According to CNW research, buyers that bought during Cash for Clunkers experienced 2 times the normal repossession rate and 5 times the amount of buyer's remorse.
It's like a big, fat, angry slob spending money it doesn't have on crap it doesn't need. Me want more pointless social programs. Yummy, yummy, yum.
Okay, I'm calm. Just so we're all on the same page. In the years leading up to the housing market crash, the United States government put pressure on banks to sell homes to people that couldn't afford homes. And in 2008, they all got foreclosed on, AKA they got repossessed, and then it crashed the entire economy. And like 6 months later, the United States government's like, brain blast, I know how to fix this, guys. We're gonna go to car dealerships and we're gonna put pressure on them. We're gonna incentivize them. We're gonna subsidize it, whatever words you wanna use. We're gonna convince people that can't afford new cars to buy new cars, and then they're all gonna get repossessed, okay? It's brilliant. I've taken a math class. 2 of the same thing cancel each other out. It's gonna get us out of this mess. So in conclusion, did Cash for Clunkers save the environment? No, not really. It barely made a noticeable dent, and if anything, it probably hurt it more by destroying all the vehicles. But it did at least save a bunch of American jobs. Granted, it saved more Japanese jobs than it did American jobs. But hey, life is all about the silver linings, right? We did, at a minimum, get to keep the poor people in check because we got to take their money in taxes and then use those taxes to force them to pay $2,000 more for a used car, which back in 2009 was closer to like $3,500, but you know, whatever. Anyways, I'm gonna go keep looking for a truck. Thanks for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out. I legitimately can't even tell anymore if politicians are stupid or evil. It's probably both.